going on, everybody? Welcome to Pillow Talk with Paul Goneau. Today, my guest is father and comedian, the lovely Dan Brennan.
The adorable Dan Brennan.
The adorable fucking Dan Brennan. Actually, I dated a chick who thought George Bush was cute. And that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Obviously, it didn't last, you know?
I would have thought the older George Bush or the younger George Bush?
The younger George Bush.
Either or.
Even in their primes, neither of them were attractive fellas.
I feel you dodged a bullet by not staying in that relationship.
Yeah, right?
But thank you so much for having me. We've been trying to do this for a while, but we're both pretty busy boys. But yeah, we found some time. It is good to be busy. It's not good to be burned out.
No.
You have to take care of yourself, you know? And I'm feeling that at the moment with a full-time job, comedy. I need a rest, is what I'm saying. So
I would argue two full-time jobs. You're also a father of two. I don't know if you want to count each kid.
Yeah, well,
that's a lot.
Unlucky for me, my kids live in Nova Scotia. So I'm actually flying them out in 2 weeks. It's my youngest's birthday.
Okay.
So he messaged me and said, Dad, my... his birthday's the 6th of November, and he's like, Dad, my favorite YouTuber, Max Fosh, which is totally foreign to me, right?
Yeah, never heard of him.
Is coming to Toronto November 7th, ... Do you see where I'm going with this? So I got him tickets and the older boy tickets, and we're going to hit the CN Tower.
Nice.
And we're going to go see this Max Fosh fellow.
Nice. What kind of stuff does he do?
So the one, I looked him up right away, and the one thing, and I actually remember this, I think, because I used to live in the UK, so I check UK news websites all the time, as we'll get into with the soccer players later. So they have several airports around London. And one of them's called Luton, and that's in the north, and there's one called Gatwick in the south. So he bought a piece of property, and he put up a big sign that you could see from an airplane that said, "Welcome to Luton," just outside of Gatwick. So people were like, not quite flipping out on the planes, but it made like the #1 news story on the BBC World News Service, and that was it. He was off, right?
That's interesting.
Yeah. And the other one, he tried to get into a billionaire's will. And that was quite funny. I won't go into the details of it or ruin it for you. But the premise of this show is that he needs to do it in a live theater, because if it was recorded, he'd end up in jail. So yeah, we'll see what that's all about. But I'm excited. I'm excited to have the boys here.
When's the last time you were at the CN Tower?
Oh God, that's a great question. Okay, that would have been maybe 2011. So as I just mentioned, I lived in England for 10 years. I became really good friends with this guy from Yorkshire named Aidan. And we were a bit of an odd couple, because I worked in an office and wore a suit and tie, and he worked on a construction site. And you won't believe me, but people like that just don't mix in the UK. You know what I mean? Like, there's a really prevalent class system. But we became fast friends, and I took him to the CN Tower when he came to visit, and he's walking out on the glass floor, jumping up and down, and I'm like on the edge of it, afraid to step on it. Like, and he's laughing at me, and I'm like, no, I can't even do it. I took one step on, and so we'll see what happens with the kids. I don't think I'll be venturing out too far.
Oh man, it's
not my thing.
It's a pretty intense time. I'm actually going to be going there on the 11th, have some friends coming down from Winnipeg that have never been there. Aaliyah's never been there, so we're gonna go. But last time I was there, like, heights aren't my thing, man.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm also the kind of guy where it's like I try not to let fear control me. Like when I have a fear, like I choose generally to face it head on.
Yeah,
you know, like I've been bungee jumping, even though like on my way to where I had the little station on the bridge.
Yeah.
I never let go of the rail. I'm about to jump off this fucking bridge, man. And like I'm just creeping my way up, like.
Well, I did a bungee jump once, but I was tied to another person.
Okay.
It was a double bungee jump, and they push you off. So you don't actually have to make the decision to leave the platform.
Okay.
Because if the decision was ever, like, if it was left to me, it's not happening.
There was like about a dozen countdowns for me.
Yeah.
And then I did it, you know? But I did do it. No one pushed me. But when I was at the CN Tower last, I was like, it had been a long time before that, and it's been a long time since. But I was like talking a lot of crap, and then in the elevator, like my knees slowly started to like wobble, just because you know it's high, man.
Yeah.
And I got up there, and I didn't really want to go on the glass floor. There's all these kids just running, and some like senior citizen gentleman just kind of like pushed me.
It's
I didn't know.
Really?
He pushed me on it, and I was like, I couldn't even get like I'm not gonna yell at this guy.
Yeah.
He's like, you're there now, and I was like,
turn around, it's all kick him in the midsection,
stunner
him right on the glass
that's
floor.
It, dude.
Yeah.
That would be great.
My favorite, the thing that always gets me is you get these kids on there and they're jumping up and down on the glass floor, and I'm like, well, what if you're right? What if your jump is more powerful than the floor, you moron? You're gonna suck us all out into space. It's like over 500 meters. It just I don't know if the term is vertigo. You see these guys climbing like buildings and skyscrapers that aren't quite finished, and they jump off of them.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as they give you the look down, that gives me anxiety. And it's like on a video somewhere.
Yeah.
You know
me
what I mean?
too, man.
Like,
me too. And there's people that just they do like parkour on like these like the Burj Khalifa and like all these just massive buildings, and it's like, I mean, it's cool to watch, but also I feel the same way when I watch those videos.
Yeah. It's not for me, man. Know your limitations, I suppose. Cool. Nice little space here. Did you make the pillows yourself? Because this seems very specific to you.
This was a custom. Actually, to be honest, all the pillows were custom.
Yeah.
The name Pillow Talk was originally because I had it. I started it during the pandemic, like right at kind of the beginning.
Oh, right.
It had been like 2 months since I could get on stage, and I was like, I need an outlet.
Yeah.
You know, and I got like a bunch of CERB money and like tax money all at once. And I was like, I'm just going to do this. I had a spare room, painted it pink, and was doing it on a bed. And this space is nice, but before we were recording, I was saying, like, we're about to move upstairs. Like, there's a lot of issues with the people that are there, and they're moving out, I think, next weekend. So, and it's kind of like a weird date, and we're planning on moving in for the beginning of December, and it's like a 3-bedroom, and the plan is to kind of give Pillow Talk another kind of remake, but it's going to have its own room. I'm going to kind of bring the bed back.
Its own iteration.
So I do like this space, even though like right now it's like kind of like a 3-in-1 room. Like obviously this stuff is like on the wall. Yeah. So it's like podcast studios.
Yeah, that's not real brick. I'm running my knuckles across.
No,
that's,
not at all.
It's quite soft. I'm not that rugged.
It looks pretty solid.
Yeah,
like
we're making it look mean. Yeah.
Got it from China.
Did you?
Yeah, man. Pretty cheap on Amazon.
Are you an online shopper? You like your online shopping?
I feel like well, here's the thing, man. Like I don't want to say I'm a big shopper. I do collect things, and there's certain things that I do buy, and I've slowed down. I've slowed down since Aaliyah's been born. Yeah. But really, I think
a picture of her there, beautiful.
Right. That's like her first like preschool photo.
Nice.
And they're mad expensive, by the way. But I'm getting sidetracked.
The photos are.
Yeah, photos. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just give me the digitals. I'll print that shit myself.
Wait till she's in dance, and at the end of the year, you got to pay and buy tickets to watch and see what they've taught your kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all the rich families are there buying their kids flowers at $25 a pop, and you're like, "What is going on here? This is
just they take advantage." I feel like
they do. It's like, wait a minute, I've paid you to teach my kid how to dance, and for me to be able to find out if you did a good job, I got to pay another $25 and bring my parents. Yeah.
But I feel like for online shopping, I really only prefer it because malls are just such a nuisance now. They're so big, and man, I went, well, maybe like 3-4 years ago, I went to Square One to try to get a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
And like
a reasonable activity.
One would assume you'd be able to find, with all the stores there, one pair of shoes that would like, suit you. Right. And like, dude, I mean, I walked around for 2 hours and then left without shoes, and I was like, I think that was like really the beginning of my hate for malls. And so just shopping online is more convenient. You have access to like a lot more stuff. Are you not?
Well, I consider myself someone who doesn't buy a lot of things.
Right.
Right? Like I'm not constantly in the need for new things. I'm well behind. I could use a new pair of shoes, probably a new pair of jeans. I could afford to like gussy up the closet, but like I'll go once a year and buy a couple of things, and that's it, you know. And obviously with Christmas gifts, I always remember to buy them too late for them to be delivered in time.
Bro, honestly, I've got 80% of my Christmas shopping done already.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't buy for a lot, and I mostly just give the kids money or tell them how poor I am. Tell them how expensive flights are and things like that. But no, I usually just send them money, so that makes life easy. Buy a few things for mom and dad, you know what I mean? And yeah. I want to do more cooking this year, though. I'd like to do more of the cooking.
You into cooking?
I am. Well, the last thing I got online was for my
yours?
birthday was a blender, and this is why I hate online shopping, because the thing came broken, like like it's one of these really nice Ninja things with all the attachments, and what do you call it? The main cylinder where it does all the blending. What do you call that thing?
I don't even know, but I know what you're talking about.
The jug, right? So it was cracked, and I'm like, oh man. So we sent it back, the whole thing back, and it was like, when is this thing arriving again? And is it going to be? It's causing me stress. I just want to get onto my blended life, the blended phase of my life, and I'm really, really loving it. To be fair, now that it's here and it's not broken, I tend to make too much. And then I walk around, I slosh around, just too much liquid in my belly.
Yeah.
But I really like it. I think it's saving me a lot of money too.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
What kind of things are you blending?
So you get
just like smoothies and shit.
Yeah. So if you're any sort of a mixologist, you want the balance between the sweet and the sour, right? So I love beets, so I'm way ahead of the game there, and I'll get like 3 beets are like $3. Right? And you get the leaves too. You can use the leaves. The leaves taste great. I can't wait till the spring because I'm going to grow my own beets. But, $3, you peel them, you chop them up, and put them in a bowl. So you've got those to balance out the banana. And what I'm really good at is I'll cook oats, right? And if you cook them at a really low temperature for a long, long time and they boil eventually, they'll turn into like a cream. So you can put them, let it cool, put them right into your blender, and you got oats and banana and a little bit of beets for your iron. I started this about 2 weeks ago. I gave blood last week, and they test your iron, right? So you need to be at 131 or they won't let you donate. And she goes, oh, that's really good. I'm like, what was it at? It's like 156. I got all these beets I'm eating all the time, right? So, yeah.
Do you donate blood often?
Yeah, you're allowed to give every 3 months, and I usually I don't know if it's because there's no repercussions, but I often set the appointment and then miss it. But it's easier now. Where I'm living on the West Mountain, there's one right so close in Ancaster, beautiful facility. Go in there and I give blood every 3 months. And when I mean I give blood, I should get the Guinness Book of Records people in, because I'm like this. Put the needle in, boom, 2 minutes later I'm out. There's still people.
Yeah.
All the people that
were
came
there
before. I'm like, see you suckers, I'm off having cookies. Yeah.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
It's good to do stuff like
that.
Well,
it's nice to be charitable and not have it cost you any money. There's cookies in it for you.
Are you donating I feel like when I renewed my health card at some point, they were like, do you want to donate blah 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 when you die to science? Are you doing that too?
I would have to double check what I signed off on, but I'm all for I think it was Morgan Freeman had a campaign where it's like, the most precious items you have are going to rot in the grave with you. So you can have it all, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe you can hear from my voice, you might not want it this week, but I've just gotten over a cold.
That's all good, man.
Yeah, I should probably donate my liver to science.
I feel like I said everything but my eyes, and I don't know. I really have no reasoning for that.
Yeah.
I was just like, no, not my face. But I don't even know if I want to get...
I don't even know if I want to get buried. Do you have any idea how pretty I am?
Barely, but
I want to be a tree. I want to be one of those... you can put someone in the ground with an acorn seed or something like that, and yeah.
I feel like eventually, man, I always think when certain areas develop and become more populated and all these graveyards that were bigger just shrink down, and then they're just on the corner of fucking Huron, Ontario and Derry between a gas station and the Metro Convention Center, and it's
they have that where
eventually they're just gonna someone's gonna fucking and they're just gonna I feel like I might be cremated when I die. Me and my lady are talking about. I'm not sure, but
I think that's the cheapest option.
Is it?
Where would you have your ashes spread then?
See, that's the...
A little bit in the ring, a little bit on a stage somewhere.
I don't even know.
Specific
I don't even know. I just, if I went, like, early, I just want to be around, just sit in the living room, so, like, anybody that dates, like, my lady is just knows that I'm still there. You know, I just want to be around. So don't even spread me.
You don't want her to move on.
No, never. That's right.
Yeah, that's funny because I was rewatching a movie called Barney's Version this week, and that's the guy. He's divorced from his wife, but he buys plots beside each other so that they can live on in the afterlife. But like she's moved on, he dies, and she's in a relationship with someone else. It's like, how do you have that conversation? Yeah. Oh yeah, when we're done, like you're just a fill-in because he died, right?
That's I never even thought of it that way, but that's not. I don't know. Just
best to not dwell on it. But yes, I'd like my nutrients to go back into the earth, something above ash level.
Something above ash level. Yeah. All right, that's a fair. That's a fair.
Yeah, plant me with an acorn. Let me become a tree. What if your consciousness was in the tree, though? You'd get real bored just sitting in the same spot.
Do you believe in reincarnation? Are you a religious,
I don't. I take a very... I think it's the Scandinavians who believe that whatever you were before you were born, that's what you return to. And my big thing is... I think it is the one great adventure that none of us get to report back on. You know what I mean? So I don't fear death in that way. Like, I'm curious to know what happens to me after I die, right?
Yeah.
But my honest opinion is that no one knows. No one knows what happens. So anybody who tells you that they do know is lying to you or trying to sell you something. So... or both, lying to you so they can sell you something.
What about stories about like people that and like I'm just coming at this from like I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Because like I'm unsure, and like the more things that I have that I don't want to lose, like my lady and my daughter, and like I probably will have another kid at some point. Like the more I want to believe that something happens and it's not just this. Do you know? I want to, but...
Why, is this not enough? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, no, this is like... I think this should be more than... I'm not expecting anything, you know? Like, I'm living like there isn't anything.
Right.
So, like, when I'm on my deathbed, I'm happy with, like, my journey and just who I am as a person. And it's taken, like, a lot of growth, you know, to get to this point. And I really feel like I wish I started certain things. Like, I didn't find, just based on my circumstances and stuff, man, like, I was raised in foster homes and stuff. I lived on my own at like 16. It was almost it was like, my birthday's in January, and I was moving out the September, because it was like the school year, it just fit, but like 4 years before my 17th birthday.
Right.
And like... it kind of went how you thought. Like, I partied a lot. I was working. I was, like... I had the things that I needed to have. Just to be able to party and do the kind of things that I was doing. But, like, I wasn't too responsible and, like...
We're thinking a lot about tomorrow.
I strayed away a lot, and I just... like, I wish I started comedy sooner. I wish...
buddy, I didn't start till I was 40, so...
Really?
Yeah.
How old are you now?
I'm 50 now. I turned 50 in late August, which is always a good time to reflect. Yeah.
Why'd you start? What made you start?
Because I'd always wanted to give it a try. I didn't really have a lot going on for myself at the time, post-divorce and the like. And I set little mini goals. So I said, like... okay, you have all these funny thoughts, write them down, and when you get 100 of them, reach out to a local comedy club and see if you can get a 5-minute spot. So I did that. I reached out to Pat Coppolino on Monday, and he booked me for the Wednesday. Like, told me on Tuesday, yeah, you got a spot Wednesday. I'm like, oh, this is not good.
I'm not.
And I went and I printed off those 100 jokes, and I looked at it, and I thought, none of this is any good, and I used none of that.
Really?
Yeah. Well, maybe one thing from it. But, and then I just sat there and said it over and over again, what I thought was 5 minutes, over and over again. And
like the night before.
Yeah, the day, like the day of. Yeah. That's all I did was just read it over again, standing in front of the mirror, rewriting it, and and the rest, as they say, is history. I really enjoyed that first time, even though it was not good in any way, shape, or form.
No?
No, I didn't even do the full 5 minutes. Okay. I did like 3.5, pulled the piece of paper out of my pocket, read the last joke on the page, instead of, starting where I'd left off,
Yeah.
But I knew then that I really enjoyed doing that. And I felt it was causing areas of my brain to fire that I weren't really getting to fire on a regular basis, if that makes any sense.
It does.
I really enjoy the thing about comedy is that if there's a problem, right, you don't have to move an army or a mountain to solve the problem. You just have to sit there and think about it. Maybe that sounds stupid, but it's on your own bat. It's not, there's not a whole bunch of machinery that needs to get in place to solve a comedy problem. You just need to sit down and go, you know what, that joke isn't working. I wonder what I can do with that. And then it'll come to you or it won't, Sometimes you don't even have to put that much of a conscious effort into it. You just have to say, I realize that part's a problem. It's not working for me. I wonder what I can do. And I find thoughts will be meandering later and you'll solve the problem. Yeah. And I really dig that the fact that it's internal. Not that, you couldn't go and work in a writer's room or something like that and that wouldn't be a lot of fun. But life I just find so exhausting and comedy's not. Yeah. Like everything around comedy is exhausting. The travel, the people. That came out wrong. I didn't mean it that way.
No, but it's reality.
Yeah. You're just being sociable. It can be draining, right?
Oh, buddy, I'm
right?
the worst for that, and I think people think that I'm not a big drinker, man, and I just started driving, so I just have my G2. So anytime I drive to a show, I can't have even because they'll take my shit. So it's but even before, I'll be real, I'm the kind of guy I don't really hang out until 1 o'clock, when I'm doing
I can't do that either.
Or certain stuff like that. I have so much stuff going on, and it's just I would say, more of an introvert. I like making people laugh. But even back in the day when before I even considered doing stand-up comedy, I was class clown, but I didn't like being the center of attention in an odd. Do you know what I mean?
Interesting. Because I think that I come from humble, hardworking people who wouldn't attract the spotlight. I think there's something like that in my DNA, that it would be wrong to go out and try and, grab the microphone and be the one in the spotlight. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had to battle that. I think that's probably one of the reasons why I didn't start till much later. But yeah, you don't want to draw attention to yourself. We're not that kind of people, kind of idea, modest, hardworking people. So once I got over that and realized, I really like the spotlight on me.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting more comfortable. Hosting, I think,
what was I thinking?
That.
This is great. You're all going to listen to me for 5 minutes? Great.
And you're really good. You're really good just off the cuff, man. I think the last time we saw each other, we were judging that show.
You were kind enough to let me I was in Toronto on the Danforth, and I popped in, and I was like, dude, can I do 7 minutes? And you're like, yeah, we're doing a contest. I'll throw you up before the headliner. I'm like, thank you so much. So I sat in the back of the room, and I watched the show. People think oh, you're quick. Where did you come up with that? Watch the show. All the clues are there for you. The things that you're going to talk about. You know what I mean? And people are sitting in the audience going, oh, my God, he just wrote that about tonight's show. If you watch the show, things will come to you. And I really like giving the audience, when you can do a throwback or a callback to someone else's joke or something that's happened, or crack a joke about how someone looks. I think the audience walks away thinking they saw something that they're not going to see on Netflix tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's also the importance of when people are like, oh, record your stuff. I have 2 sets on my YouTube channel, and I'm not eager to be posting full sets because some of the subtleties and stuff, there's something about being in a room with a low roof and just the lights dimmed and the way that people
right
just
conditions
laugh
for
without
comedy.
any no one's looking at anybody, everyone's just kind of in the moment, and it's hard to really get that when you're watching it on like your phone or something like that. So
100%. I couldn't agree with you more. There are the right conditions for comedy, right?
Right.
And you get a room with a low ceiling. I always think about Burlington Yuck Yucks because the ceiling there is ridiculously low, and it's great. You know what I mean? Because sound travels, and with a low ceiling, it travels right to the stage. So if you can't feed off of that, you're probably in the wrong game, you know? And on top of that, laughter is contagious. If you're laughing your head off, there's more chance that I'm going to laugh my head off. So when you get those tight rooms like that, yeah, you're right. And the internet's just flooded with crowd work these days, so it's all quite boring.
Yeah. That show that you were judging with me.
Oh, the one,
one?
Yeah. That was great.
That I think, like, I've done a few of those. I did just 2 at Comedy Bar, and even though that didn't have the biggest audience, that was, I would say, probably the funnest time I had. And it was
really?
like a combination. You were great, and also my buddy ended up coming. Or was it the? It was Sarah, right? Was it Sarah? I can't remember. Anyways, I just thought the stuff you came up like. I like being around people like you that I can kind of like learn from, and that
that's
aren't
very
like
sweet of you.
aren't like
that's very sweet of you. Yeah.
Aren't even really trying to teach. They're not arrogant about their skills. And I've seen a lot of people, this kind of is like going back to what you said about just the people can be exhausting. But I've just seen a lot of good people, like just kind-hearted, just genuinely nice human beings, just become dicks just because they've had like a little success.
Oh, sure.
Do you know what I mean? And it just it bugs me when I see that. Or just like
when success changes people.
Yeah.
I think this particular industry, because at times it's not a meritocracy, right? Like your network is really, really important, and playing the game is really important. Schmoozing. I'll say this because someone asked Bill Burr, who's probably one of the most successful comics on the planet, asked Bill Burr, like, what's the best advice you ever got? And he said he was at an industry event, and he said to some comic who was beside him, like, all the industry people, all the executives and stuff were over. He's like, turns to this comic and goes, I hate schmoozing. And the guy looks at him and goes, well, you better get good at it. You know what I mean? Like, whether you like it or not, it's something that you need to do if you want to achieve all that you've achieved. So, there's all that side of the game, and I wish it was just a lot simpler at times, is I think where I was going with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have flare-ups where I let comedy really, really get to me. I almost think I have like a menstrual cycle where, if I'm not getting good shows, it starts to weigh on me. And no, that's what I was going to say about those panel shows, like with the judging, with Kill Tony being so popular. They're popping up more and more and more. And it's the same thing. Like, if you're listening to someone talking, you don't need to say a million things about their set. You need to say 1 or 2, And, I find that some people, when it comes to their turn to judge, they just waffle away, hoping to find something. But just pay attention to the set. Like, maybe they've touched on a subject you already do jokes about, So, yeah, that's my key. Just 1 or 2 things. Nothing more, nothing too elaborate. Keep it simple.
The Kill Tony format has even like made. I have I'm like a referee as well for pro wrestling.
Oh, I know you are. I hope we get a chance to talk about that.
And like my buddy's doing Kill. His gimmick name is Pretty Ricky.
Right.
And he's doing a Kill Ricky thing now, like once a month or something. Actually at a venue in Mississauga, and so like I think. Comedy is probably the most popular it's ever been, but I think with just, and it goes with like really any art format, music, freaking physical paintings, whatever. Like, there's also like a watering down of product, and like there's so many avenues. Like, man, I tried to do the TikTok thing for a little bit. And
Right,
I tried to play the game.
Yeah.
And then I got like shadow banned. Like I said, I started this during the pandemic. So like there
What
were
does
some
shadow
clips.
ban mean?
Just essentially like they don't put your videos on like people's like For You page or whatever.
Right.
So you just see it when you're skipping. Like
Right.
they have to go to your profile to see it.
Right.
And so like nobody sees your shit.
All right.
Right, and it's generally if you just talk about certain topics, like it
Okay.
happens a lot, and so like I went from getting like, you know, hundreds, thousands of like views and whatever to getting like 8, because I was talking about like whatever. I don't even know exactly what it was, but I know it was something related to like masks or probably vaccines. I had like a pretty solid vaccine joke back then.
Right.
So
just
like
the
it
mention
could've-
of vaccine probably.
yeah, it was, yeah. And then it's also like kind of a platform where you have anybody, like you could have someone giving the best dad advice and they have like 4,000 likes, dude. And then there's just like a semi-hot, not even like a 10 out of 10. Not that I'm anyone to fucking, you know, criticize, but like 7.5 out of 10. And she has like a shirt on and she just grabs like a bikini top, just puts it over, doesn't even like put it on, just kind of covers it. It's like, what do you guys think? Freaking millions of likes. And it's like, I don't want to play that game, but it's like
the lowest common denominator.
It's hard to feel like you're gonna
the way
move
I look
forward
at it,
without it, though.
no, you can't. The way I look at it, in my online presence is quite poor. It's something I have to address. But if someone said, "Oh, have you seen this comedian?" What's the first thing you're going to do? Like you do with anything else, you're going to search them up yourself. So there better be something there that keeps them there or represents what you think you're doing. You know what I mean? So I have a few clips on YouTube, but I don't do the regular content thing. And I should. I have a plan, like just to do a joke a week and release it at the same time and try and build some momentum around that. But that's what I would want. I would want it to be like new material. I wouldn't want to be sitting there doing crowd work or I don't want to get political, you know, as we'll see from my lists.
I've thought of like little things that I could, like I was listening to Nirvana the other day and like this just like one example and like, you know, and I swear that I don't have, and I was just sitting there for like a minute hearing him like repeat that and I was like pretty fucking sure he did have it. You know, and I was like, oh, I should fucking just put it in my record something like that in my car, like little things like that, and I just never do it, dude. I have like no desire, even though I'm like, oh,
that's funny.
and I gotta kind of, I'm trying to like switch gears mentally and kind of get with it because I don't want to get left behind.
But you know, and that's also the thing. It's the gaming of it, right? If I talk about Nirvana, I'll get a certain amount of likes. If you talk about wrestling, you're going to get a certain amount of likes, you know, or a certain amount of eyeballs. So yeah, people try and piggyback off of things like that, but it just seems so ingenuine, you know? Yeah. Anyways, all right. Now that you've bummed us all out,
all right. Do you wanna get into?
I would love to know how you got into the wrestling.
Oh, are you a wrestling fan?
Yeah, you've probably told your audience this a million times. I will say this: wrestling plays a really big part in my youth. My dad and my uncle used to take me to the Brantford Civic Center, where they would film like 3 weeks worth of TV. And then give you a main event, right? Yeah. So you'd be like, why am I watching Terry Funk wrestle 3 times a week, you know? And this was when, and I remember, this was when WrestleMania, the original one, WrestleMania 1, was happening for the first time. And I just remember that being everywhere. Like it was on every radio station, every TV station was talking about it. And you couldn't, there was no pay-per-view back then. You'd have to go to the Hamilton Civic Center and they would beam it in from New York, right? There was no pay-per-view in your house or anything like that. So I have really, really fond memories of it. I wouldn't say I like some of the shoot stuff, like I'll listen to Jim Cornette, just because I love his rants. But I don't really follow the product as such, because it's not the era that I grew up in. You know what I mean? Like,
and it's
10-minute intros. Like, give me a break. Get in there and wrestle, buddy. Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah. I hear you. And like, there's the WWE is really bad for it. Like, there's another promotion that I'll get into your question, but like where they've like recorded, I don't know, that it's like 45% promos and just like 55% of the time they're wrestling. It's like other promotions, like one that I really like, AEW, is like they're trying to
I'm familiar with AEW.
Focus more on the matches than I don't know, other stuff that doesn't really matter. But
I had high hopes for AEW, but it doesn't seem to have built. I stopped watching it because it didn't seem to build any momentum past the shock value of look who we've just signed. Every week it's look who we've just signed. Mm-hmm. We signed this guy. We signed that guy. Do you know what I mean? Without it, like.
I felt like the more people that they did sign, I felt like they kind of shied away from and I still like them, but like the things that made me like them in the first place. Yeah. It's like they're just signing all these people, and then you don't see the people that kind of got the company off the ground, and were there a lot in the beginning. And
And the other thing, like when I was growing up, Bret Hart was a wrestler. That was his gimmick. He came from a wrestling family, and he was a wrestler. Right?
Yeah.
Now, like, if you look at AEW, I think, like, every guy on the roster, that's his gimmick. I'm a wrestler. I'm a vampire wrestler. I'm a hangman wrestler.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
I hear you.
I'm a wrestler from Blackpool. Arr,
Yeah, all right. Yeah, so you know a bit about what's going on.
I do. I just, I'll leave it at that.
But yeah, man, I just love wrestling. I was going to a lot of... there's a promotion that's based out of Mississauga called Destiny.
Yeah.
And I was going to a lot of their shows. I kind of stopped watching WWE for a bit because I'm like really into characters, gimmicks. Like I like that, like Ultimate Warrior. Just like people that were really committed into like playing this thing. Undertaker, just Stone Cold, whatever. Like characters.
Is that the right time?
It is the right time,
Oh my goodness. We don't have a lot of time left, unfortunately.
Yeah, I fell off, and then indie wrestling kind of got me back into it a little bit. This is like pre-AEW. And going to those shows, I realized like I knew some of the wrestlers, and my buddy Mikey Truth, like we were chatting, and like I fractured my back when I was in my teens, like skateboarding. Nothing like crazy serious when I say that. People think like, something super bad. Like I literally walked out of the hospital when they were finished with me. I was just like mangled. I had like a crack through one of my vertebrae. Anyways, so I couldn't wrestle. Like that was like, off the table. I'm a skinnier dude. It would take like a lot of work to really get me there. But I was like, oh, maybe I could, be a ref. And then there was a reffing seminar with Jimmy Corderas.
Oh, nice.
And Harry D, who are like some pretty big refs. And I did that. And then I trained with the wrestlers for about 6 months over at Battle Arts. And then just started getting booked. And stuff, and I've been doing.
So would you
stuff.
like on these indie cards? Would you ref every match?
No, generally there's like 2 refs.
Yeah.
And so you just.
Do you ever have to do a run in because the other refs down and stuff like that? Yeah.
I have taken quite a bit of bumps. My last, I took a huge bump by Chris Masters before.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like I don't know. I met some people that I actually, admire and watched back in the day. It's been fun, man. I have like the best seat in the house. I get paid to kind of just be a part of
the thing that you love.
I just love doing stuff like that,
Yeah. One of the big appeals to wrestling and to soccer, because I'm a huge Liverpool fan, which is why we have to cut this short, maybe because I got to get to the match. It's the big one though. We're playing Arsenal this weekend. We got to give them a beating. Is the roar of the crowd. Mm-hmm. That's the real appeal to me. Like they call them pops in wrestling, right? Yep, when you hear that big pop, because that when I was a kid, like I think one of the large reasons I went into to comedy or love performing is that pop. If you can get an entire arena to feel the same thing at once, same with comedy. If you can get an entire room to laugh at the same thing at once, it's a great feeling. You know what I mean? It feels like you've accomplished something, so love it.
You want to get into top 5?
We're gonna have to rush through them. I'm afraid to say. I really
had
an
order you wanted to start with.
Yeah, I wanted to start because my top 5 comedians.
Okay.
And I have to caveat this by saying the last time someone put "What's your Mount Rushmore of comedy," I responded, and then some other people started mentioning other comedians. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about them.
Okay.
So I find this really, really hard.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be held to this, but I tried to look at it.
All right.
People that really helped form my opinion. So Chris Rock and Bill Hicks.
Hey.
I'm just at that age where, like, Bill Hicks, I wish I could talk about serious things the way Bill Hicks. I wish I had an opinion the way Bill Hicks has. You know what I mean? Mm. All my opinions are super wishy-washy, and you can probably blow me over with a feather. But this guy nailed it, and that's always going to be a big influence on me. Chris Rock, when I was really young, I know they're not the same people, but that Eddie Murphy style of comedy, like Raw and Delirious, I feel like Chris Rock is a child of that. And his Bring the Pain, I watched that a million times when I was a teenager, man. It just, like, the way he stalked the stage, the way he introduced topics, unbelievable. And then, of course, you can't go anywhere in Canada or in comedy without saluting Norm Macdonald. I think his body of work and the fact that, I remember one interview, he said, I'm trying to get out on the road. I want to do 320 dates a year, because B.B. King used to do 320 dates a year, and like B.B. King's an old blues man. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about, 320 dates a year? But in the back of my mind, I have that in the back of my mind going, I would love to try that sometime. Do 320 dates. Only have 45 dates off in a year. Be a proper road warrior, you know? And these days, with luxury buses and things like that in first class, I don't think it would be that hard.
I mean,
but it would be
as hard as it was back then.
It would be a grind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Could you imagine? Anyways.
You couldn't do anything but comedy.
So, as mentioned earlier, my fifth comedian, because I'm desperate to introduce this guy to a North American audience, is Stuart Lee. Mark Maron referred to him as just operating on a different level from anyone he's ever seen. You know this term, meta comedy? He does a version of that where he talks about the comedy scene, and he talks about other comedians, and he talks about his own comedy and his place in the world. And he's an absolutely brilliant English comedian, is what I'm trying to say. And he kind of moved away. He also did things like wrote music reviews for the NME, and he wrote or was part of the team that wrote something called the Jerry Springer Musical, which was very, very successful. Okay. And he kind of moved away from stand-up. And then when Ricky Gervais was at the height of his powers, right, he's in an interview and they said to him, who are your comedy influences? And he said, my biggest comedy influence is Stuart Lee. And then Stuart Lee's people got a hold of Ricky and said, hey, do you mind if we put that on a poster? And he said, no, you can put that on a poster. And then, boom, he's back. He's selling out arenas, not arenas, but, he's selling out 3,000 seaters, all because he's Ricky Gervais's favorite comic. And you have to sit and watch the whole thing. I'd go back a few years and watch a couple of his specials from a few years ago just to get the flavor of it before watching his new one, basically. Mm-hmm. But the guy is a genius with words and repetition and everything else. So,
all right.
All right. So then we said we were going to go to superheroes. This is probably a well-worn topic on this.
This is one that I do every episode. Right. Except for I've done 2 episodes where I've had guests on a second time, and that time we do villains. So,
that's a good idea. Yeah. I should have done villains. I prefer the villains. Number 1 superhero of all time, and not this new wishy-washy one that you see in Deadpool films and stuff like that. But I'm talking the old limited edition Wolverine, ties to Japan and martial arts.
Yeah.
That is my number 1 superhero. And growing up a Canadian kid, the fact that he was Canadian meant everything.
It's
big, what I mean?
Man.
That was our hero.
Yeah.
That was our hero. Number 2, the Batman.
Yeah.
The people never talk about this, but the appeal of the Batman is that he's rich. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey? Oh, sir,
he's also like a playboy. It's like
exactly.
Ladies just flock to him.
So sir, you cannot swim in the fountain. I just bought the place.
Yeah.
Like, who wouldn't want to be able to solve problems that way? Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the Batman, and then Captain Canada for the same reasons as the Wolverine.
Okay.
I'll tell you this, my eldest son, I was trying to introduce him to Alpha Flight because he was a big Avengers fan and stuff, and I was telling him about this Canadian team, and he just looks at me and goes, I don't want no ghetto Avengers. He's like 8 at the time. Killed me.
But they were the shit, man.
Yeah. This is like, what, the Incredible Hulk is number 4.
All right.
And maybe he's not a superhero. Maybe he's not a classic superhero. But for several reasons, it used to scare the hell out of me when I was a kid. I would have nightmares about that scene in the old TV show where he would turn into the Hulk, and his pants would be ripping and stuff. Lou Ferrigno. That caused me nightmares. And because he appeared in Thor Ragnarok, as you remember, and this goes back to my eldest son, we're watching it together, He didn't know the Incredible Hulk was in the movie because, he's not sitting on his phone watching, trailers for movies. And when the Incredible Hulk went on the screen, he absolutely lost his shit. It was like the happiest I've ever seen another human being. He made me pause it. I paused. And he just lost his shit for 2 minutes. And then we could watch the movie again.
Yeah.
I love it. Number 5 is probably one you guys have never ever heard of before. But the first set of comics I ever bought was the Machine Man limited series. And in this, the Machine Man, who was a character from the 1980s, he'd been boxed up because he was a machine, right? He'd been boxed up, and now we were in the year 2025. And the thing that always gets me is that we didn't have personal home computers at the time, but everyone was locked in. They would go to arcades, and this was the addiction. You would go to arcades and get locked into some visual thing that fed your senses and kept you addicted and poor. And now I just look at the modern world where I'm a terrible doom scroller. I'm like, how prescient was that, No,
I've never heard of that one though.
Yeah.
We're checking out.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then the next group we were going to look at were historical figures.
Okay.
Winston Churchill.
All right.
Yeah. As an Irish person, I should not like Winston Churchill because Winston Churchill thought that the Irish were a subspecies.
Okay.
But I'll forgive him that slight problem because he was a proper man. He wrote histories, he painted, led armies really badly in World War I, never gave up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was what you would call a Renaissance man, and he did it all by drinking Johnny Walker Red, by the bottle every day, and I don't know if you've ever drank Johnny Walker Red. You're going to get a badass hangover because it's the cheapest of the Johnny Walkers, right? It's the most common one. How the guy, no wonder he was mad at Hitler. He was fucking hungover the whole time, Anyways, Napoleon, once again, not this new guy that we've got, but Napoleon, he modernized warfare in the army. In France, especially at the time, to become an officer, you'd buy your way in. Right, so you're a rich family. Oh, we've got a third son. What the hell are we gonna do with them? Oh, we'll make him an officer, and so, their particular army didn't actually have much in the way of skills. And Napoleon was like, "Fuck this! This system's gone. Now you get to be an officer on merit, right? And you can." So maybe a modernized warfare isn't a good thing to brag about, but I quite liked it. And then I have Pierre Elliott Trudeau. And just all those politicians from that generation, I miss those guys. These were bold people who had opinions.
Yeah.
And stood by their opinions. They weren't just trying to get elected, Pierre Elliott Trudeau said things like, "Oh, how far are you going to go? Just watch me." And and René Lévesque was this Quebec politician who believed in separatism, right? Never seen in public without a cigarette and 2 women on his arm. Literally, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The guy was a dude. I want dudes running things. And when I say dudes, I don't mean idiots. I want educated, swashbuckling gentlemen. So, and then Oscar Wilde, who's one of my favorite Irishmen of all time, when Oscar Wilde was arrested and jailed for having homosexual relations with some rich guy's kid. No, he wasn't a kid. He was an adult. I shouldn't say that. But here was a guy who created some of the most beautiful plays, and he wrote a great book called The Portrait of Dorian Gray, and was just basically a really educated, lovely man who lived in a time where, he was persecuted for his activities. And I think that just takes a level of bravery. And then lastly, Queen Elizabeth II.
Okay.
She lived a long time. I lived in England for 10 years. And she gave us 4 days off one weekend. It was great. No. Once again, as an Irishman, I should probably hate her, but I think there was a certain dignity that Queen Elizabeth II that we sorely lack these days in our public discourse.
Yeah.
Musicians. Top 5. The Beatles. To me, the Beatles are here, and then there's music is over here. All the rest of it's over here. They did everything, right? And
I love the thing I really love about the Beatles too is that it's what you said, it's kind of its own thing, but you couldn't even do that now. If a band tried to do that now, just people wouldn't, it wouldn't be, it just, not only were they skilled and they made great music and positive music, but it just came at the right time, you know? It was just a fucking perfect combination of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. A perfect storm, if you will. Yeah. But I love the fact that they treated it like a job. They worked 9 to 5. You know what I mean? When they were putting an album together. They literally worked 9 to 5. And my favorite thing about the Peter Jackson Get Back 24 hours or 50 hours or whatever it was, so they're supposed to be playing a concert in like 5 weeks. They don't even have the venue yet. And there's a guy from the record label going, if you want to play the amphitheater at Pamplona, we can make that happen. We just need to make a decision rather soon. Do you know what I mean? Like, or Pompeii or somewhere like that it was. And I'm just like, wow, like to be that big a band. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To be that big a band that the record company, well, we can do whatever we want. You know what I mean? It's just unbelievable to me. Iron Maiden.
All right.
Love Iron Maiden. It was just, with Iron Maiden, I'd always seen the artwork before I heard the music, right? And the first time I ever heard the music, I was cutting through a department store, and for whatever reason, one of the TVs was up, and the Much Music Power Hour was on. And it was the opening chords of Heaven Can Wait from the Seventh Son album, and I was just like, that's it. I need to have everything I can possibly get about this band. And same with Queen. The last band I ever really fell in love with was probably the Arctic Monkeys or the Kooks.
Okay.
Yeah, that was like, I think you reach an age where you just stop paying attention to music. Like, I've got enough music now, thanks.
Yeah, I like what I like.
And I don't even say I'm that well versed in all that they've done, but Pink Floyd to me is really, really special. Really, really special.
Do you play any instruments?
I do. I used to play bass, and now I play a little bit of ukulele.
All right.
And I just got tired of carrying all this equipment around. So
fair.
So and that leaves us with one last list, and that is a personal passion of mine. And the reason that we're rushing is soccer players.
Okay.
I realize this is North America, and soccer has grown in popularity. And I get that people aren't really, they're not buying the sport as much as they're buying the culture. The scarves, the singing of songs.
Flags on the cars.
Flags on the cars, all that stuff, right? Like, their knowledge of the sport seems to be a secondary concern. But having lived in the UK for 10 years, I ended up following Liverpool because I had a cousin who followed Liverpool. And, like, there's teams that win nothing. Liverpool do well. I'm very lucky that way. Because you could support some teams that only break your heart.
Yeah.
But I love that. Especially about English soccer. There's teams in the second, third division that still regularly get 15,000 people out. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They haven't won anything, ever.
Yeah.
And they still get 15,000 people out. I don't know. Like, we don't do that in North America, right? Like, whoever wins the Stanley Cup draws the most money on the road the next year. Same with the NBA champs and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. We love a winner. But I think, and this would get debated until the day we die, I think the greatest player of all time was Diego Maradona. And I say that, what I want to say about Diego Maradona is that he went to his grave wondering how good he could have been, have had not drugs cut his career short, okay? But he really fell afoul of it fell into the arms of the Naples Mafia when he played in Napoli, and he was a massive cokehead. He used to travel from Argentina to Italy with 2 massive soccer balls, right? And like the papers would write up, Maradona loves soccer so much, he travels with 2 soccer balls. And the soccer balls would be full of cocaine. He'd just walk off the plane.
Yeah.
Right? But the man had a love affair with a football that I don't think's been matched. And the reason I put him ahead of anyone else, the pitches that they played on back then, you know what I mean? Like, they were mud. They got these beautifully manicured, they got underground systems, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. These days they take a patch of grass out on a conveyor belt, with all its electronics underneath it, and they put another patch in.
Oh, I've never seen that done.
Well, I'm probably exaggerating a little bit, but
I'm not super educated in soccer, so
yeah. But like, I mean, they're perfect playing surfaces now, and he played on playing surfaces that were far from perfect. Another one, Zinedine Zidane, who I think everyone should watch highlights of. And And there's always a debate between Messi and Ronaldo. I'm a Messi guy, all the way. Ronaldo played for Man United, so I can't take him seriously as a human being. Thierry Henry, the old Arsenal striker. Thierry Henry was so good. I've only ever heard of this happening twice in soccer. Thierry Henry was so good. There was one season, the term for it in soccer is unplayable. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing you can do to stop this guy, right? I remember one game, it was a Saturday, big game. 3 minutes into it, he's managed to somehow, from like the most acute angle, backheel the ball into the back of the net, fooling everyone. And you're just like, this guy's just unstoppable. The next week, he went and played in Portsmouth, scored a hat trick. And the Portsmouth's fans were singing his name. That's the rarest thing of all soccer. I don't think you get that in any other sport. You know what I mean? Like, maybe a polite round of applause for Brady after he's destroyed you in the fourth quarter. Right? Yeah. But to sing his name, unbelievably touching. And of course, my favorite, my captain, Steven Gerrard, leader of Liverpool. I feel like there's been a generational shift. Maybe it's true in other sports, but there used to be guys who maybe they weren't that good, but their will to win was such a level that they were invaluable to the team. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you look at the great Man United teams, not every player on those teams was world class, but they had a world class attitude and world class effort and just a refusal to lose even when the chips were down. And Steven Gerrard, not only did he have that in him, he also was a phenomenal player. So he's a very, very special talent. There's an FA Cup final named after him. It's called the Gerrard Final because he scored a hat trick in it. I don't think anybody else in 50 years has had a final named after him. He's just the kind of guy who always showed up in the big games, scored in all the finals that he was in. And yeah, those are my top fives. This has been a lot of fun.
Shit, man.
Yeah, we raced through that. We might have to do it again.
Do you want to do one of these?
Yeah.
Before we get out of here? All right. You pick one. We'll just do one question on the cards. You can grab one as well.
All right.
I love the passion in soccer, though. I wanted to get into soccer, and I enjoyed playing goalie, but... all right, let's see. What have you been so excited or anxious for something that you couldn't sleep? Let's go maybe like the last time. When's the last time?
Oh my God, the last time would be Wednesday. I was paid a ridiculous amount of money to go for this customer appreciation day for tobacco executives. Mm-hmm. So we went on a wine tour. One stream went on a wine tour, one stream went golfing, and the other stream did exotic cars. And then all three streams met back up at the exotic car mansion somewhere in Lincoln, I think it is. I don't know for sure. Barbecue, great band by the name of the Strummers Union playing. And then I had to get up and run the Deal or No Deal. They have a prize giveaway at the end. And really, I just had to stand there and make fun of people. And I got paid a lot of money for that. But there was very little information going into it.
Okay.
So the night before, I was just like, and I don't know about you, but when these things don't have contracts against them, it's not that I don't trust the people who got me involved, but you're like, hey, it's not real until the money's in your pocket, right? And then when the money gets in your pocket, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to lose the money. Right? Like, you can always find something to be anxious about, right? So, yeah, so that would be the last time. Are you going to answer as well then?
Yeah. Honestly, my daughter being born, it was like my lady was in labor for like fucking close to 3 days, bro. It was stressful, right. and then it happened, and like... There was I just didn't want any, there was like a 2-minute period where I was like, if anything happens to her, like, what am I going to do? It's all I could think of. Yeah. And I just kind of had to get out of the fog. But that was definitely, like, obviously I have, like, stage anxiety a little bit anytime I go perform. Yeah, but that was, like, the last real... Yeah.
Can I tell you a funny story? Because I was at a dear friend of mine, her daughter's birthday party recently, and they were talking about the birth of the child, and I remember I saying to my buddy, like a week before my first child was born, I said to him, hey, so like when they release you from the hospital, who drives the kid home? He's like, you do. You drive the kid home. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay. He's like, you're responsible now, right? And literally we left the hospital on a Sunday morning. And I was so nerve-wracked. I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. This is terrible. And then we got out on the road. I'm like, I'm fine. This is fine. I'm like, oh, I'm doing 20 kilometers an hour. So, yeah. Kids are funny that way.
All right.
All right. I think we're going to go, let's go with this question. Do you live for the moment or prepare for the future?
I think I'm a combination of both. Mostly, I feel like I'm live for the moment. I think that it's maybe like a 65-35%. I think me and my lady make a good couple because she's like the opposite.
Right.
You know? And so...
need to be a good team.
We're a good team. Yeah. What about you?
I'm guilty of living for the moment, and I like the way you put it in percentages. I think life has to be a good balance of 50-50, or maybe 65 plan for the future, 35 enjoy the moment. But I'm very much guilty of short-termism and not being able to plan. So I put a lot of effort into it. You know what I mean? I put a lot of effort into thinking, okay, what does my week actually look like? Where am I slotting things in instead of just running from one thing to another? So, yeah, I try my best.
Well, brother, thank you for being here.
Hey, this was fun, Paul. We should do it again for sure.
Let the people know where to get at you if you like.
Come see me on Instagram at Comedy Things Dan Brennan. If you're in Toronto, Brantford, Hamilton, I regularly run shows, and I'd love to see you out. Come check out my comedy. That's the reason I'm here.
It's been a pleasure, brother. Guys, like always, this podcast is brought to you by Neon Light District. Hit them up. Use code PillowTalk to save 10%. And by The Great North Apparel. Hit them up. Use code PillowTalk to save 30%. Go follow Dan. And I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Peace the fuck out.